Hi, I'm Kelly and welcome to Kelly Loves Books and Movies. And today I am going to talk about the books I read in February. And there were 9 of them. That's a lot of books for me in 1 month. But February was really, really cold. It was below zero a lot. So I didn't go out a lot. Like normally, because I work at home, I will at least go for a walk at lunch. And there were a lot of days I couldn't do that, so I would read during that time. And same with after work, I normally walk. Too cold. So, and it's also the slowest month at my part-time job, so I had a lot of time to read. A lot of these are kind of short. Well, not a lot. Half of them are probably fairly short. So that's how I got 9 in this month. That's kind of crazy, even just that. All right. First up was Their Eyes Were Watching God. I read this. I actually had this on my shelf for a really long time. Like, I owned this when I was in Florida. So actually, I don't think this is the one I owned when I was in Florida. I think when I moved, I got rid of it. And then when I got here, I bought it again. So it's been on my shelf for 6, 12, almost 20 years. And so I finally read it. And of course, it's a great book. It's about Janie, her life in a small town, about her relationships and the different types of relationships. Her husband, like she had 3 husbands, and her relationship to each one was very different. And she held out for that third one. The third one was, the best. But yeah, obviously it's just a good book, a good story. What I thought was super interesting, because I lived in South Florida for a long time, every hurricane season you hear about the Great Belglade Pahokee hurricane when I don't remember exactly what year, in the 20s, mid-20s, late 20s, I don't know, but you hear it all the time because of that hurricane. I mean, the water management of Lake Okeechobee is completely, I mean, not completely, because Big Sugar is part of it, but like to keep the level low so in hurricane season it doesn't top the levee again. And yeah, it's a big deal where I live because they do releases from Lake Okeechobee into the Caloosahatchee to the west and the St. Lucie River to the east, and that water is pretty crappy and it kills everything, and every time they do releases it's a big deal. Anyway, this book portrayed a fictionalized version of that hurricane, and I thought that was really neat to read. So yeah, it's a great book. Everyone should probably read this. All right, second book. Oh, I think I know I forget the order. I'm trying to stay in order here. Last Night at the Telegraph Club. Now this book I read because of Renee at Beyond Books. She has a great review on her channel. Go check it out. This is a story about Grace. I couldn't remember her name. Grace, who is about 17 in this book. She takes place in San Francisco in the mid-50s. She is the child of Chinese immigrants. Did I say Late Night at the Telegraph Club or Last Night at the Telegraph Club? It's Last Night at the Telegraph Club. Anyway, it's about Grace and her classmate Kath, who they both are interested. They visit this club for this male impersonator singer. Can't remember the name, but anyway, they're sneaking out of the house, visiting this club. They fall in love. It's a great book. Although it's kind of heartbreaking. I mean, when I finished it, I was like, oh, But yeah, and this is one that, like, when I finished it, I loved it, and you know, kind of crushes your heart a bit. But I think when I originally rated this, I think I rated it like a 4.5 or something. And the more and more I think about this, I even liked it more than that. So, do I recommend this book? Of course I do. Last Night at the Telegraph Club. Check it out. All right, third book. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I did a review on this 2 weeks ago, something like that, on my channel for a full review. Loved this book. It was, although, again, like I said in my review, if I had read this 6 months ago, I probably would not have loved it as much as I did. And the longer I have sitting with this, I still really loved it, but I probably didn't love it as much as maybe I did in that instant. My love's going down a little bit. No real reason, just distance, I suppose. And actually, I think I pretty much read this twice, because there was a quote. Now, this is a lesson to me. I should take this lesson, that I should actually write stuff down when I come across them, because in my mind, I was thinking of this quote, not exact, but kind of something like it, and I was trying to find it again. Could not find it. I practically read the whole book again, trying to find the quote. Apparently, it does not exist. It's just something in my head I thought happened. Apparently, it didn't. Well, no, it was a quote. It was something about having something to sacrifice for, finally, something like that. And that's how I remember it, but I didn't find that anywhere in here. It even like Googled like the famous quotes in here, and it's nowhere to be found. So maybe because I had to read it a second time practically, that's why I maybe was a little too high on it. But I'm still very high on it, just not way up here. I'm probably a little bit down. But yes, this is about Evelyn Hugo. She is a golden era Hollywood actress. She's telling her story to Monique, who is a journalist. And she's going to write her biography when she is gone. She's going to get to write it. It's basically the story of her life and all her loves and families and what other ways families can look. Yeah, I know I was a little late to the party. It's been popular for a long time, but I did love it. All right, next up. Wish my phone would stop dying. Okay, I went to the bookstore because I have had East of Eden on my list for a very long time, and I was like, oh, I need to read that. So I went to the bookstore to get East of Eden. And then I got there and went to the, fiction and John Steinbeck. And I saw Cannery Row on the shelf. And I read this because I'm actually going to Monterey in a few weeks. I've never been there. So I wanted to read this first because I'm going there. And I just was perusing the map yesterday and I realized, like, where Doc works, the Pacific, or they call it Western Biological in here. It like really exists. I mean, I guess I would have, not that I didn't think it was a place that really exists, but it still exists. I mean, the building. So that's going to be kind of cool to see. But actually, this is just, a fairly short book about all the characters that lived on Cannery Row in the 40s, something like that. I don't know exact time, but there's a lot of characters in here. They're all very fascinating. Yeah, I love this book. I'm going to read the next. There's like a follow-up, I guess. I am going to try to read that before I go in a couple weeks. It says Steinbeck's tough yet charming portrait of people on the margins of society, dependent on one another for both physical and emotional survival. That is definitely what it is about. And actually, the only other John Steinbeck I've read was Grapes of Wrath in high school. So yeah, I did actually go back after, a couple, maybe a week or two after I bought this, and did get East of Eden. So I'm going to also read that sometime in hopefully not so distant future. But yeah, Cannery Row, great book. Next up, I Who Have Never Known Men. Now, this has been quite a popular book lately in Book Talk and BookTube, which fascinates me because this came out in this is the English translation copyright is 1997 and 2019. So it's been out a while, and how it's gotten popular now. Anyway, this is about a bunch of women who were like swept up in some sort of thing, who knows what it was, and they were put in like a cell and like had guards that like took care of them, but they had lots of rules they couldn't touch, they couldn't do a lot of things, they didn't know why they were there, they didn't know where they were, and then something happens and they escape, and then they're pretty much on their own wandering wherever they are, and this is their story, and basically told through the eyes of a girl who was like a real little girl when she was snatched up, and so she didn't know a lot of things that the others did. Like, she didn't know how to read, she had to teach all herself all those things, or, the other women. So it's the story of once they escape, they're wandering, trying to figure out where they are, if they can escape, if they can move on. Yeah, 39 women wandering the wilderness. It's kind of how it is. I really liked it. I don't necessarily think I loved it, but on the other hand, the more and more I keep thinking about it, and it is one that's going to stick with you, and you're going to think about it a lot. I probably keep liking it a little bit more and more as time goes on, and I might go back and read some of it again. I don't know, but it's definitely worth a read. It's dystopian, that's for sure. Next up, Emily Henry Book Lovers. After a lot of heaviness and the craziness of the world today, I needed light and fun, and I had this on my shelf for a long time, so I picked it up. This is about Nora and Charlie? Yeah, Charlie. It's been a while. I already don't remember their names. Boy, girl, So, Nora's sister convinces her to go and spend a month in this small town, and Charlie is there. She's a book agent. He's a editor. She had met him long before and didn't like him, didn't have a good impression of him. So meeting him in this tiny town in North Carolina all of a sudden, was, surprise, hijinks ensue, it's a typical romance. This is the third Emily Henry book I've read, and it's actually my favorite of the three so far. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's nothing special. It's just a fun, light, romancy kind of read, if that's what you need. And you haven't read Book Lovers? It's good. A good diversion. All right, next up. This, like Evelyn Hugo, I did not own. And there's some little voice inside my head saying, you need to read this and you need to read it now. It is Kristen Hanna, The Great Alone. And I have a different Kristen Hanna on my shelf. I think I have two colors on my shelf, and I had been meaning to read that for a long time. But this is my first Kristen Hanna book that I have read. And when I went to the bookstore, pick it out. The cashier was like, "Oh, that's my favorite Kristen Hanna book." And I'm like, well, then I guess this really is my thing I should have gotten. Now, I have no idea why the little voice inside my head was telling me I needed to read this book like now. I kind of know why the little voice inside of my head told me to buy Evelyn Hugo, but that's a story for another time. But anyway, this is about Lainey or Lenny. I think it's Lainey, but whatever. And her mom and dad, her dad is a POW from Vietnam. He comes back from the war kind of broken. He's very abusive. He inherits some property in Alaska. They move there. And this takes place in like 1974, so there's like nothing there, just small and very remote part of Alaska. And this is really about, you know, her family and the community and helping the sense of the community helping the family. The dad is very violent. If you have problems reading about domestic violence, this probably is not the book for you. If you can read that, then I really like this book. It takes place the majority of it takes place that first like 1974, 1975-ish year, but then things go into the future a little ways. But yeah, as much as I like this book, it was really hard to read because he's really awful. And it was just awful. And you just want to be like, oh! But other than that, I really liked it. Definitely worth a read if you don't have a problem with reading really tough subjects. No idea why this popped into the little voice inside of my head said I needed to read this, but I'm glad I did, and it's done. I'll probably read the other Kristen Hanna book I have soon, soon, who knows? I have so many books on my shelf. I keep saying soon, who knows? And also, I am really looking forward. I want to read The Women, and I want to read The Nightingale, and something else. I can't remember what. But yeah, because I know a lot of people love her and love her books, so I am definitely going to read more. All right, next up, Leonard and Hungry Paul. This also, I guess this probably was a recommendation from Pat from Book Chat with Pat. Check out her channel. I'm sure she has a full review. It's a story of two single guys who still live with their families essentially, and then Leonard's mother dies, so he has to figure out life after that, you know. Leonard and Hungry, here, I'll read this because this just, again, says it better than I can. Leonard and Hungry Paul is the story of two friends struggling to protect their understanding of what's meaningful in life. It is about the uncelebrated people of this world. The gentle, the meek, the humble. And that's pretty much what it is. And this is another one that there's a quote in here I can't find, and when I gotta write stuff down. Yeah, I mean, it really was. Like, it's so nice to read a story about people who just see things maybe the world a little differently, and everything isn't like a major ordeal. It just was a nice, sweet story. I maybe did not like it as much as I thought I would, but I still really liked it a lot, and I think more people should read this. All right, last for the month. Now, I read Delilah Green Doesn't Care at the end of January, so I needed to read, that is actually the first book in a trilogy, the Bright Falls trilogy apparently. So I got the second, Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. This is another just light, fun romance that I just needed in my life at this time because the whole world is going crazy. Astrid is the sister of Delilah in the first book, and she is designing they're doing a design of an inn in their town, and like there's this sort of HGTV type TV show that's gonna film, and the granddaughter of the owner is like the carpenter, and also, you know, I mean, I did not like this as much as the first, but I still enjoyed it. I didn't understand like the whole problem with the filming it didn't make sense to me. Like I felt like, I don't know, I don't want to spoil it, but I felt like the conclusion they came to wasn't necessary. They could have done something else, and I was like, anyway, it was a nice, sweet read. I liked it. Not as much as the first one. Spoiler alert, I finished the third one the other day. That one's not so good. So, that's all the books I read in February. Probably not going to read that much this month because it's a very busy month for me. And I think I finished one. I finished, spoiler alert, that third stupid novel. Yeah. So, thanks for watching. See y'all next time.